Gavin Rossdale, welcome back to noise11.com. We talked earlier in the year expecting to see you down here about a month later, and we're still waiting, Gavin, but I'm sure it's going to happen in 2022.
I'm glad you are, but I think, yeah, I mean, I can't tell anything anymore, but I'm excited to come. I'm still excited to come. We're still happy to come. We didn't leave the bags packed. We did unpack the into the bags, but yeah, we'll see. We hope so.
What I wanted to talk to you about was Golden State, because you've just, in the last couple of weeks, had the 20th anniversary of that album.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a really big album for you, was it? But when I go back and listen to that record, it's a great sounding album. Did we just miss the plot 20 years ago with that one?
That was a weird record because it kind of got away, it just came, just a weird one, like if you have a long career, like it's funny because, like I loved someone like Neil Young, when I was a kid, and I would like check out Neil Young and this and that. And then you come across like 3 albums never heard of. You're like, when were these, And everyone, so if you have a long enough career, you end up having hidden records, and that was on Atlantic. And it was a terrible decision I made. One of the worst decisions I ever made was to go with that label. And I had a choice of a different other label, someone else I preferred. And anyway, so it didn't work out in the end. It wasn't meant to be. And some things just are the way of that. I mean, the main thing for me is that we've had so much success that you can't expect everything to have the same degree of success. But what you can expect to have from our point of view is the same degree of quality. Sometimes things just move differently, and you know what I mean? You don't luck out having the right song at the right time, and that's how it goes. But I'm glad you say that, because I'm happy that obviously I wish they were all massive and stuff like that, that'd be great. But in accepting that they're not all going to be like that, how great that when you do go back, it's not because they're a dud. You know what I mean? Didn't shit the bed, as they say in France.
It's one of those albums that you rarely go back and revisit in a live sense. I think People That We Love was last played 2019, Land of the Living 2015, Fugitive 2011, Float made the set list 2016. It's an album that, you seem to overlook when it comes to putting a set list together.
Yeah, it's more to do with probably a lot less to do with me, because I'd play more of it. It's to do with some of the last few tours we've done. We've been doing these kind of like co-sharing the bill, and then you play for an hour. And then you always get this thing, well, if you play for an hour, should you play the biggest songs as well, the hits? And so we've fallen a bit afoul of that for me, for set lists. I mean, it drives me nuts. I'm like always want to do the more obscure set lists, and that's the best we can get away with, that I can get away with. Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea. I think that we should play more of that record. I think Fugitive is great. Land of the Living is amazing to play live. There's some really good songs on there. Superman and things that I would like to play more. But I think we need longer sets.
Mm. It also marked the end of an era. 2011 was the beginning of a 10-year gap. So Golden State was the last album with Nigel, Dave and Robin. And then in 2011, when you came back, it was a completely different Bush. Do you see it as two different bands?
Oh, hardly, because I was in it. But, well, it was weird for me because in some ways, yes, and in some, yeah, it's totally yes, but intrinsically, because I'm in both of them and I've written the songs so far, there's an intrinsic link in my voice. It's not like we switch singers. So, yeah, I think that there have been two distinct bands, and, great things about them both, really. Really great things about them both, and I've just been lucky to be part of them both. I'm the common link between both bands, I suppose you could say. And I've loved being in both, and Nigel is an incredible guitar player and brings stuff to it very of the moment and intuitive and you know, never quite knew where it was going. But it was, I mean, you know, he wouldn't. He was a very exploratory guitar player all the time, and that was kind of fun and exhilarating. And Chris is a master guitarist, and his MO is to he knows his structures and he knows his parts really, and so he's a different type of player, and also brings out amazing things and, you know, elevates things unbelievably. I've been lucky really because they're both perfect guitar players for a singer like me, you know. They just sort of complement what I do, make everything better. They both made everything better, you know, that's for sure. Like all lead guitar players, you know.
I guess while you're the common denominator in both of those lineups, there's two other musical components featuring you that, of course, is the common denominator as well. Institute and also the solo album Wonderlust. Can tracks from those two albums exist in a live performance anymore in a Bush scenario?
Yes, I mean, Chris always wants to play. We do a lot of acoustic shows that maybe isn't in your data. So in that, we've done lots of versions of Float and different things. Like Superman is a nice song to do acoustically.
Are you comfortable with taking the side project and the solo album and making the Bush songs?
Sorry, my mind. I wish so more, because especially Institute is much more similar to all the stuff that I'm really doing now, in a way. Law in the Kingdom and now on this record I'm making now to hopefully come down and play some of it in Australia. And so that Institute was really overlooked, and that's sad because that's a cracking record. And again, it's like a side project, but we put our heart and soul in it. I'm really proud of that. The Ambulances, that's just one of my favorite songs I've ever written, and the Skin I'm In, and just, you know, we had Big Hit with Love Remains the Same on the solo record. That's when, you know, that's less easy to play because it doesn't really fit in the kind of Bush mold, especially we played so much heavier stuff, and the last record's quite heavy. So that goes a bit like, we played like twice in a Bush show. Be like, what is that? What's happening? No, that's the moment you left, you know, the kind of the betrayal song. So we don't play it that much, but if I play it acoustically, you know, it's really, people know that song. It's a really big song. So.
Yeah, when we talked about the Kingdom in the last interview, what I loved about that album, it sounded like you made an album in 2020 for Bush fans. So, you know, like as an old Bush fan putting on that album, you know, that was on the mark. That was also the first album without Robin. You're talking about a common denominator in you being the common denominator through all those Bush records, but he was also a common denominator right up until that record too, wasn't he? So, yeah, in a way, the Kingdom marks a new era for Bush.
Yeah, yes, it does. And what Nick brings is a kind of ferocity and a kind of tribal quality to it that's really it's fun to play with, because you know he's a very powerful drummer. So it worked out great, and so we'll do another record with him. You know, about to go and do another record with him.
I seem to be big on anniversaries in this interview, as opposed to the last one we were talking more about new music. But yesterday, I don't know if you noticed or not, but yesterday was the 6th of December, and that marked the 27th anniversary of the release of 16 Stone. And I'm assuming you must have been around 27 when that album was made. So you've literally doubled in age since your debut album.
That's how it goes. Yeah. You know, I mean, I don't know. You know, if you have a long career, the only way to have a long career is to do everything slightly unconventionally. Do you know what I mean? To somehow last. You know, I think. I mean, I was trying to. As I was saying, I was like, do I agree with what's going out of my mouth? But in my case, it's really felt like. You know, it was an interesting journey because it took a few years to get going, and I guess I was kind of jettisoned as a sort of a singer in England, not really going anywhere. I could get demo time from anyone, you know, any label, but I don't know if they're really going to sign me. And you know, I knew that everybody, and everybody even knew Bush, you know, and it just didn't work out how it should, you know, and we didn't find that glory like that, and then somehow happened like the independent label in America, and like people saying, should I sign this deal? I was like, what are the deals you got? Fuck all. It's like, well, you better sign that one then, really, didn't you? You're like, if you have any interest in this, there's all these things that people telling, don't do that, don't go to America, you're gonna get lost. No one, everything wrong. Rock band and Britpop time, and everyone's like Mods and Parkers and Oasis and Blur, and you know, those bands are really amazing in their own right, you know, absolutely. But like how to coexist and not coexist with them, and then suddenly, so the idea of having like 27 years ago, my first record came out, and I got to make a new one. That it's just very unconventional. And such a long career, and really lucky to have it. And I think anyone who's a true artist I don't know, just never knows how they've gotten there, and like, well, you know, you're here now. How did I get here? What vehicle did I get here? I'm not sure I should be here. I'm in the wrong place, and you know, it's a very tormented life. And then you look back and you go, well, I'm doing something because I'm still getting a chance to do it.
Mm. So it's incredible, isn't it, that you were 27 when the first record was released, and me and the rest of the planet, and I'm sure you as well, have probably sat down and watched the Peter Jackson Get Back documentary in the last week or so. The Beatles were breaking up. Let It Be was at the time they were turning 27. So 27 was the end of their career, the start of yours.
Well, thank you very much for comparing me to the Beatles. That's good. Yeah, absolutely. We're like peas in a pod. I mean, that's what I mean. You get like, whatever. You can't, you know, frameworks and systems and patterns and trends and accepted ideas, you know, they always should be open for being debunked and turned upside down. I mean, I don't know. It's like, I like singing, and sometimes I think, wow, it's so weird. You know, I've just written a whole bunch of songs for this next record, and I go, is that an interesting way of living a life, like sitting in a room and playing music to a beat and then singing something that you feel passionately about? I was like, I really, really lucked out on the job front of like what I'm meant to do, of like, you know, that constitutes my day's work, or how I can validate myself with my contribution. You know, I go, okay, I write songs. I just try and write good songs, and I try and make them. They connect with people, and they, you know, it's entertainment. So it's I'm thinking a lot about it because I'm still doing it, and like we're referencing songs from whatever, you know, many summers ago. But my head is like that next chorus I'm writing next door, like how that is, and yet at the same time, like I haven't had that. I'm not in that position in a long career where I'm now making mid-tempo acoustic songs that just sort of fill speakers without any justification, and just, you know, do you know what I mean? Remember when he was good and funny, those guys, you know, like that stuff. I love his early funny stuff. So I feel it's still really vital, the stuff that we're doing, right? It's so vital, it's so heavy. And I keep wondering, why am I doing it so heavy? Why, like, it's so heavy, the stuff that I've been writing. It's hilarious. It just brings me joy, because I know it's probably the last thing I should be doing, or is it right, or whatever. I keep thinking, wow, ironically, I'm at my heaviest. Now, you know what I mean? It's so funny. Yeah.
Well, this must have been a fairly bizarre year for you. I think this must have been the first year where you haven't performed live in more than 20 years.
Yeah, I didn't mind it for that. You know, from my perspective, I've been traveling since '94. I always was on the move. I was always leaving. It's really, there's the darker side to creating a great success in your life, and through a rock band's system of touring forever, right? There's casualties, there's collateral damage all along the way. You forfeit time with everyone you love, you know. You forfeit time with your animals, with your dogs, with it's everything. And so actually to stay home with no travel on the horizon was like, secretly, I gotta tell you, it was like extremely luxurious, and like felt great to go to everything my kids did, like have done for 2 years. You know, it does feel good, you know. That's why Nigel wanted to not, when I did my solo records, why he didn't want to do a Bush record. When I did the Institute record, it was meant to be a quick record, and then he didn't want to come back and do, I only did a solo record because Nigel didn't want to tour again. He had enough of touring and missing his first kid growing up. And it was like, I didn't have kids then. I didn't really understand. I was like, didn't relate. I mean, I understood, but I didn't relate. Now, you know, there are times when we're on tour, it's horrific when you like, you go out a long run and you're out for months. It's just endless nights. You don't know how they're doing. You know what I mean? All those dumb things about being a parent that are sort of super cute, like getting a great juice or like, you know, making something, you know, doing dumb stuff with them that's really normal. You forfeit so much of that. You literally forfeit that, you know. And then you have people you have to pay that end up doing all that stuff that you're forfeiting with them, you know. And it's really weird. And it's okay, and they understand, and I minimize it. I tour like 5.5 months of the year, but I don't tour any more than that because of that. Else I tour more. Before I had kids, I'd like tour for like, you know, 9 months in a year, easy.
Well, we look forward to seeing you in Australia in 2022, finally, with that great Under the Southern Stars lineup, including Cheap Trick. Should have mentioned them earlier on. Gavin, we're getting wrapped up here. It's great to see you. Great to talk to you again. And look, see you in 2022.
All the best and happy holidays.
You too.